The New York Islanders managed to win back-to-back games this weekend. We'll tell you how they did it and what it means going forward. We've got all that and a lot more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Monday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. For the second time all season, I finally get to say this. The Islanders have won back-to-back games. Yes, 2 games in a row. And while that in and of itself is not that unusual in the sport of hockey, the fact that here we are sitting 29 games into this season, and this is only the second time the Islanders have accomplished this feat all year, yeah, it kind of reminds us that it hasn't always been smooth sailing this season. But some encouraging signs coming out of the weekend. And we're going to break down what happened both Saturday at home against Carolina, Sunday on the road in Ottawa, and how the Islanders ended up with 4 points. And I have to say, I was a lot happier with the performance on Saturday than I was with the performance on Sunday. The Islanders going up against one of those, contending teams that is in the thick of the hunt for the first place in the Metropolitan Division, and a team that eliminated them from the playoffs in each of the last 2 years handily. And to get a win, to bounce back after a no-show performance practically, especially for the first 40 minutes, Thursday against Seattle, and to beat the Carolina Hurricanes, that had a really good feeling. And let's face it, getting guys like Oliver Wahlstrom and Bo Horvat off the schneid, with both of them scoring goals, was huge for this team. Because let's face it, you need Bo Horvat to score. You need something from the third and fourth lines on a more consistent basis. If you can get 12 to 15 goals from Oliver Wahlstrom this season, that would make a big difference for this team. Getting those guys going is critical for the New York Islanders, and it happened on Saturday. Now, I think you could see the emotion on Bo Horvat's face when the puck went in the net. And then, in between periods, doing that interview with Shannon Hogan, and you could just see the smile and the relief, and just like he felt 10, 20 pounds lighter, like a monkey had been, lifted off his back by the fact that he was able to score for the first time in 14 games. And then Horvat, just to make it, more fun, scores again, into the empty net, but goals in back-to-back games after you haven't scored in 14 games and you're a first-line kind of guy, that's huge. So great to see Bo Horvat tally and get back on track, and, hopefully he's squeezing the stick less and playing better. And the key line for the Islanders, Horvat, Pajot, Siplikov, all of them with multi-point games. Pajot, a goal and 2 assists. Horvat and Siplikov, 1 and 1. All of them a +3 in this game. I have to say, it makes a lot of sense. And I really liked, seeing that trio excel. And, Patrick Waugh, again, a coach who mixes up the lines, but what he does is he'll ride a hot combination until it's not hot anymore. And finally, Nelson, Siplikov, and Palmieri have been broken up. And so be it. I think it was time, maybe even a little past time, so that, you can spread some of that scoring out. So you had Horvat, Siplikov, Pajot, Nelson, Lee, Palmieri, Cizikas, Holmstrom, and Wahlstrom, McLean, Martin, and Engvall. Saturday, it was McLean, Martin, and Fasching. But the beautiful thing to me about Saturday's game was that the Islanders controlled the tempo a lot more than I've seen them do in a long time. And they were, for most of the game, the better team. And again, that when you're playing Carolina, who is well known as a well-disciplined team, as a team that doesn't make mistakes, that is very encouraging. And once again, the Islanders were up 4-2 after 2 periods. So you had the dreaded, and I put that in air quotes, the dreaded 2-goal lead entering the third period, and yet the Islanders nailed it down. Yeah, they gave up a goal in the final minute to make it 4-3 because nothing comes that easily for this team. But to be able to get Bo Horvat and Oliver Wahlstrom out of their slumps, to get a new line clicking atop of the table, to get good goaltending again from Ilya Sorokin, and to hold on to a third period lead. That is, you're checking an awful lot of boxes right now for what has been a very much struggling New York Islanders team. Now, still some issues. Let's not kid ourselves. You gave up 2 power play goals on Saturday. The penalty kill remains a big problem for the Islanders. That carried on into Sunday as well. This team still needs to be so much better on special teams, whether it's the power play or the penalty kill. The special teams have got to improve. And, that is coming back to bite them again and again. As far as Saturday's hero and GOAT of the game, a lot of choices. I got to go, in my mind, in this game. I'm going to go with J.G. Pajot for his 3-point performance, a goal, 2 assists. But it easily could have been Bo Horvat. It easily could have been Ilya Sorokin. And, for hero of the game, though, I'll go with Pajot. And then for GOAT of the game, the penalty kill has got to remain the big issue that has been facing this team. With the exception of 1 or 2 games, I can't think of, too many solid performances over the course of the season on the PK. So everything else, more or less, was much better Saturday. So you take it, you bank the 2 points, but then you wonder. Because the big issue for this team is not having the odd good performance. It's sustaining that. And we know back-to-backs have been a problem for the Islanders for a while. So the question becomes, can they get it done again on Sunday? Having to travel up to Ottawa, take on a Senators team that, like the Islanders, is hanging right around the NHL 500 mark and will be one of the teams the Islanders will need to beat out if they hope to make a run at a playoff spot this year. And, well, we'll talk about that game and how it turned out and why the Islanders were able to win, even though they weren't the better team for most of the game, and why that's encouraging. All of that and more still to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at Mint Mobile. I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy, no hoops, no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I called them on it. Turns out it really is that easy to get wireless for $15 a month. The longest part of the process was the time I spent on hold waiting to break up with my old provider. To get started, go to mintmobile.com/lockedonnhl. There, you'll see that right now, all 3-month plans are only $15 a month, including the unlimited plan. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You could use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with your existing contacts. Find out how easy it is to switch to Mint Mobile and get 3 months of premium wireless services for $15. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/lockedonnhl. That's mintmobile.com/lockedonnhl. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedonnhl. $45 upfront payment required. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower, above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Today's episode is also brought to you by your friends at Game Time. Game Time has a new feature. It's called Game Time Picks, and it makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. You see, Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And one of my favorite features on the Game Time app is the view from your seat. You go on the app and you get a panoramic view from your seat before you purchase the tickets, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. So I almost forgot. Yeah, our Islanders' birthday of the day, an original Islander who scored the very first hat trick in New York Islanders history. Let's see if you can guess who that is. That's coming up in our third segment. So the Islanders headed on the road after the win at UBS Arena Saturday. They headed up to Ottawa. And to their credit, the Islanders come away with a 4-2 win. They played a decent first period. After a very slow start, they kind of rallied, ended up, being the better team, I would say, in the last part of the period, and they led 2-1 after one period. But again, after that, it was Ottawa who was clearly playing better hockey. And despite being outshot 31-12 in this game. Well, 31-13, because you have the empty net goal. But, in spite of being more than doubled in shots on goal, Ilya Sorokin, 29 saves. He was outstanding. He ends up getting the win and kind of helping the Islanders steal 2 points from the Ottawa Senators. The penalty kill, again, a problem. Josh Norris scoring a power play goal in the first minute of the second period to tie the game at that point at 2-2. But the Islanders stopped the bleeding after that, even though they couldn't get pucks on the net. And, Sorokin came up big. At times, the Senators clearly tried to make one pass too many, going for that tic-tac-toe perfect play to set up the tap in for the empty net. It didn't work most of the time, and the Islanders were able to escape as a result of that without any damage. But the good news, Kyle Palmieri, Anders Lee, each with a goal and an assist. Lee's goal comes on the power play. Palmieri assisting on that goal. That was the 500th point of his NHL career. And then Palmieri scoring off a nice feed by Lee to put the Islanders in the lead. And it turns out to be the game-winning goal on the power play with a little more than 6 minutes left in regulation. And congratulations to Palms on the 500-point milestone. And, again, good teams. And I'm not saying the Islanders are a good team, so, we're not there yet. But one sign of a good team is you steal points and even wins and even regulation wins when you're not playing your best hockey. And that's what the Islanders did. Tim Stützle had a great game for Ottawa. He was dominant. Brady Tkachuk had 6 shots on goal. He played a solid game, but Ilya Sorokin really helping to steal things. I mentioned the other goal for Bo Horvat, 2 assists for Noah Dobson. And despite the lack of offense, and there was definitely a lack of offense, the Islanders found a way to get the W. Pierre Engvall, by the way, back in the game. And even though he, wasn't special, he had an assist, he had a hit, he had a block shot. He did the things, or more of the things at least, that Patrick Roy wants to see. Kyle McLean, another one of the Islanders' many depth scorers who has been struggling to get on, the scoreboard all year long, he comes through with a goal. And all of these little things that we're seeing, they add up. They really, really add up. And to see the Islanders come away with a win on a game where at times they were brutally outplayed, couldn't get their puck, the puck out of the defensive zone, got some big saves, benefited from some sloppy play, with the extra passes from the Senators. But over the course of the game, they were able to lock it down. And again, hold on to that lead. How many times, Islander fans, have we seen this club take a lead with 6.5 or 6 minutes left and lose the game in regulation, or more likely lose it in overtime or a shootout? Getting these 2 points on the road on the second half of a back-to-back with your goalie, your starting goalie, playing both games because Semyon Varlamov was unavailable. They had Marcus Hogberg as the backup for both games, and they weren't really going to go with him in either one of these games. So mission accomplished. You got the 4 points over the weekend. And, just to sort of tell you that the Islanders went from 8th in the division in the Metro to 5th in the division by winning those 2 games back to back. That's like ridiculous. Now, they're tied for 4th in points with the Rangers, but the Rangers have 3 games in hand. Philadelphia 1 point behind the Islanders. They have 2 games in hand. Pittsburgh 1 point behind the Islanders, even in games. Columbus 4 points behind the Islanders, 3 games in hand. So, yeah, they moved up with the 2 wins. But, still a lot of work to be done. Hero and go to the game. I'm going to split the hero. I think the real hero of the game was Ilya Sorokin. I give him my vote. But an honorary mention to Kyle Palmieri for his 2-point night and the 500 career point milestone being reached. So I'm going to split it officially between Sorokin and Palms, in large part because Kyle Palmieri reached that important milestone in this game, and his play was important to the team. Go to the game, it's going to be the inability of this team to clear the zone. And I could go with the penalty kill again. I could almost make the penalty kill the GOAT of every game they played this year. But I'm going to go with just that inability to clear the zone, that transition game. It is something the Islanders need to work on ASAP because it's killed them all year and last year and probably part of the year before. That is something this team needs to overcome. And I'm not seeing them doing that enough. When they lose leads in the third period, it is too often associated with going into a shell, backing up, and having an inability to clear the puck and transition successfully from defense to offense. And that was still a problem against the Senators on Sunday. All right, more to get to. What does winning this weekend do for this team? What does it mean? We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about our Islanders' birthday of the day. All that and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. And Islander fans, use your knowledge of hockey and of the Islanders to make some exciting bets on FanDuel. Check out the odds for Tuesday's home game against the LA Kings. So head on over to FanDuel.com and you can join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert. Get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from hosts Steele and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So what does it mean to get these 2 wins? And where does this put the team? I am not going to, drink the Kool-Aid and say, yes, we've won 2 games in a row. The season has been turned around, and now this team is ready to go on a playoff run. Not saying that. To paraphrase Bull Durham, winning, it's so much better than losing. And it is. And it was great to see the Islanders do that. And now, here's the deal. You have got an opportunity to start accumulating some points. You have a tough game against the LA Kings Tuesday, but it's a home game. And then you play a home and home with a struggling Chicago Blackhawks team. So you have got a chance to, let's say, in the next 3 games, to get 4, maybe even 5 points. And that would be huge. Again, the standings, as we explained, are so tightly bunched up that you go on a 2 or 3 game streak, or you go, 5-1-1 in 7 games, or 4-2-1 in 7 games. You can go from 8th place to 4th place in the Metro, or from, 16th in the conference or 15th in the conference to 9th. It doesn't take that much to move up. So that's encouraging. Obviously now, the fact that, Matthew Barzal is now skating on his own. Again, no contact, not a member of practice yet, but guys are starting to skate and getting closer to returning. So maybe the return of some of the walking wounded is a week away, give or take, maybe even a little less for some of the guys. Every little bit helps. You know, you're back at NHL 500 at 11-11-7. You've played 29 games, you've lost 18 of them, but at the same time, to me, the more important thing is twofold. Number one, you needed to tread water while all these guys are out of the lineup. If you're still at NHL 500, when guys come back, I think that checks that box that you managed to stay in the race until guys got healthy. And then when guys get healthy, hopefully you play better and you win more games. But more importantly, I think this team showed confidence. After losing to Montreal and Seattle back to back and playing like a no-show at home against the Kraken, being able to bounce back and gain some confidence and to get Bo Horvat going a little bit and to get a new line going a little bit, to get Ilya Sorokin raising his game at a difficult time in the schedule when you don't have Varley available. All of these little things, Dobson playing a little bit better, at least offensively. These things can build confidence and help this team be better. And I want to see, again, you don't need to win every game, but you got this 3-game stretch against Western Conference teams, LA, Chicago, Chicago. Get me 4 points or more in this stretch. And then this team is starting to build on what they did. Building on it is the key. All right. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And today would have been the 82nd birthday of former Islanders winger Germain Gagnon. The Chicoutimi, Quebec native made his NHL debut in 1971-72 with the Canadiens, but really became a full-time NHLer with the Isles in their expansion season of 72-73. Scored 12 goals for the Isles that year and 41 points in 63 games. Added another 62 games for the Islanders the following year with 8 goals and 22 points before being dealt to the Chicago Blackhawks. Closed out his career with a brief stint with the Kansas City Scouts, who are now the New Jersey Devils. Gagnon played in 259 career NHL games, 40 goals, 141 points, 72 penalty minutes. He did play in 19 playoff games, all of those with the Blackhawks. He had 2 goals and 5 points. But he had a major milestone that not a lot of people remember because Germain Gagnon had the first hat trick in Islanders history. Islanders visiting the Oakland Coliseum to take on the California Golden Seals. It's Jerry Desjardins in goal for the Islanders. Gil Martin in between the pipes for the Seals. And our Islanders' birthday of the day, Germain Gagnon, gets the scoring started with 11:59 into the game. Dave Hudson and Ken Murray with the assists. And it's 1-0 Islanders. Craig Patrick ties it for the Seals. Islanders go up by a score of 3-1 after 2 periods on goals by Jim Mayer and Don Blackburn. But then in the third, Ed Westfall extends the Islanders' lead to 4-1. And then Germain Gagnon, our Islanders' birthday of the day, his second of the game, fourth of the year, Dave Hudson and Billy Harris with the assists. And then after a power play goal by Craig Patrick, Gagnon closes out the scoring with a little less than 5 minutes left to complete the first hat trick in New York Islanders history. Billy Harris had the assist. It was the only hat trick of Germain Gagnon's career, but it will forever be a first in Islanders history. Germain Gagnon, who passed away in 2014 at the age of 71, he is our Islanders' birthday of the day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. We'll be back tomorrow when we'll talk a little bit about the game against LA. We'll have a full preview of that contest, becoming an important game now as the Islanders try to make it 3 in a row. And we'll also talk about a curious decision by Patrick Waugh with regard to some of the defense pairings. We'll break that down. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you can email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You could also follow the show on X at LockedOnIsles, and you could follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYRVSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for some instant insight and analysis. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.